deal with airplane peanuts.
When comedians talk about their favorite clubs, it's expected to hear names like
the Joe Rogan's Mothership in Austin.
Comedy Works is the best club in the country in Denver.
Houston Improv, Irvine Improv.
You're really doing comedy.
Cobb's Comedy Club, Denver Comedy Works. Look at you.
Wow.
The Comedy Works.
Yes, ma'am.
On the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Ice House.
No podcast has ever been recorded in the green room bathroom at the Comedy Store main room.
Jeez. Sunset Strip Comedy Club, folks. Right
Second highest ceilings
street.
in the business.
That's right.
The Creek in the Cave, R.I.P. The Creek in the Cave. It was in Queens, New York at the time.
I went to the Creek and the Cave. Go there, right downtown, right off 6th Street.
Dave's building his own place. He's building his own place in Yellow Springs.
But there's another venue that always seems to make their way into this conversation, despite being located thousands of miles away from the three traditional major comedy markets.
The Side Splitters, they've always been really good.
They always say like the best strip clubs are in Tampa, and I was like, what do they call it? Busch Gardens? And the crowd at Side Splitters in 2016 did not.
That's the owner of Side Splitters in Tampa, Florida.
I'll also be in Tampa in 3 weeks. I'll be at Tampa Side Splitters, probably the best club in the country.
Somehow I can charter a private plane if I want to go perform at Side Splitters in Tampa, but Bill and Hillary Clinton somehow can't afford a chartered plane, so they have to take the charity of Jeffrey Epstein.
Tampa? Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Tampa, Side Splitters, like those rooms there for comedy. You say anything.
My name is Brian. I'm the owner. I've been here since 2007. I've been the owner since 2019.
So this place first opened in 1992, but in the 17 years that you've been here, what about the comedy industry has changed the most, would you say?
It's been 17 years. It's still changing, even from last year to this year. A lot more one-nighters, a lot more people that have their own audiences. I think it's becoming more and more niche, and overall, the comedy business is great, but there's more and more people that most people in the public maybe not even know about, but they'll still come sell out a one-nighter. So it's cool to see. There's people that even sometimes people on the staff are like, who? And then it's somebody's favorite comic. And there's people coming in from out of town to see a show that a Tuesday night like tonight.
Like you mentioned, today is a Tuesday night, and I feel like you hear about the hot crowds in Tampa a lot. What about Tampa makes it a great comedy town?
There's things I hear comics say. I've heard Sam Morril say a few times, a blue city in a red state. He's kind of saying it as a joke.
Tampa, for whatever reason, has been the Side Splitters. They've always been really good.
Did you ever make up with hyenas?
Never. I'd be happy to.
Here specifically, like tonight, I know you saw, as soon as we started the previews for upcoming shows, it was silence. Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful thing. Like, they cared who was coming. Like, it's truly comedy fans. I can't speak, really outside of these walls, but here, first and foremost, we give them good acts. There are the one-nighters and people that maybe get famous from things outside of stand-up comedy, but overall, the level of talent is always high. There's always years of, making sure the people that are here for the wrong reasons, you make sure that the show is the number one priority. If you want balloons and fireworks for your birthday, this might not be the spot. But if you want to come see an incredible show and get great service, I think we're the best.
Okay, well, you started in 2007 here, bought the place in 2019. After seeing the place for 12 years running, what made you want to buy it?
I started as bartender and just kind of worked my way up. And I was running the club still. There were still some owner things that I wasn't able to do yet. I just didn't given the opportunity. I knew you have hands-on for so many years and you learn things that work, you learn things that don't work. I just knew the moment I had an opportunity to take the reins, the way I wanted to do it, and it was as turnkey as possible. Most importantly, through that time, you build relationships with people, and they like the way you do things. Most of the nights, it was me in here policing the room and making sure that the crowds are behaving and things like that, and you build relationships. Those people want to work with you long-term. I was definitely invested. I like it. There's people that still like, man, all you must do is laugh every day. Like, yes and no, it's still a job. There's two parts to the job. Like, there's so much planning and booking that goes into it before the first customer even walks through the show on the weekend. The job is kind of twofold. It's running the show and the service aspect of it. Most of that is set up through the week and through the things that people don't see behind the scenes of the marketing and the booking and things like that. I love it. I do. There's definitely a feeling of, when things are going well, and certainly a sense of accomplishment, but I do like comedy. I do like, it's an industry still where it's a one-man business. There's guys, a handful of guys I've seen do their first open mic here that are touring headliners, and it's gratifying to see guys that have made careers for themselves because they put in the work. So it's cool.
What do you think is the hardest thing about owning and running a a comedy club that most people wouldn't realize or even begin to think of, from assholes in the crowd to the stuff you have to do on the weeknights where there is no show. What do you think is the hardest part about owning a club?
The work's never bothered. You're dealing with a lot. Dealing with the public, people that you're feeding alcohol to, and then balancing the comedians and their egos and all that. It's being able to be open and to evolve as the business does, being open-minded. And just because I necessarily think something's funny and something works, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the right business move. And so you just have to kind of approach everything as a businessman. And you just can't, it's tough. I went from general manager to owner, and you have to make those tough decisions of guys and have relationships with that just aren't doing the numbers anymore. And you just have to say, my first priority is the business and my family and my staff. And there's guys I've known for 10, 15 years that if the numbers don't work, we might not be able to book them. And that's a tough part of, when it's guys like that, and you just have to look at it as X's and O's more than, your feelings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Common thing people say is that comedy stand-up never really works in Miami because there's so much other stuff going on, so many distractions. But Tampa's not a non-fun place. There's a lot to do here. There's other comedy club chains here that you have to compete with, but you still have remained the premier club in probably all of Florida, I would say. How have you done that?
Well, I appreciate that. Again, I can't speak for what happens outside of this club, but from hearing comics speak, they prioritize, and that is the show and that is the comics. That they're our asset. So the little things that make it extremely tough for our staff, when these tables are tight together and the ceilings are low, but there's a science to it, and so much of it matters. When we pay for a linen service to put tablecloths on top of them so that the comics don't hear glasses clinked on the table, and just little things like that from getting their attentiveness. And the toughest part, over the years, having to tell people to be quiet and having them not heckle or talk to the table, it's tiresome to say the least, and it's brutal. And there might be good people and they might be good customers, but you always have to say that the number one asset is the show and the performer. And when they know that we take care of our comics and the show will go well, they want the show. You always financially, it's a job. They want to make money, but they also want to walk off stage feeling like that was a great show. If you have those tools and you're able to make sure that happened, no one talks more than comics. And it went from me having to reach out to now everyone reaches out to us because they want to do this room, because they want to walk out of here knowing how great that crowd was. You see more and more comics when they do a certain chains and they go Miami, Orlando. Most of the time when they do Tampa, I'd like to be the first club that they think of. And a lot of that is comics talk to comics.
Talked about it earlier, but who's one person that you saw coming here before they were famous that really crushed, made a big impression on you, and since then has gone on to really flourish?
There's been a few. When Theo Vaughn would come through, he was somebody that was so unique. And I remember asking April Macy, who's been playing here for 100 years, I was like, who's funny in LA right now? She's like, man, Theo Vaughn. And I remember it wasn't long until he got Road Rules out of his bio, because I think people were judging him like it was some novelty. He was always funny. And then, there's a few people, not that they started here, but there's a couple people that, we've had in the last couple years that I believe are on the cusp of absolutely blowing up, like Sam Talent. He was one that we had, and it was like Thanksgiving or Halloween or one of those tough weeks. The numbers were okay, but the shows were great, and it was one of those acts where like all the other comics and the staff's in the back of the room absolutely dying, and he's one of those guys that you see that you're like, he's on the verge of something big.
Last question for you here, Brian. Thank you so much for your time today. You've been here for years, you've seen a lot. Do you have a favorite night or a special thing that happened, or a wildest story or a craziest time being at Side Splitters?
Man, we've seen it all. Most of the crazy stories I'll keep to. We'll talk about off camera. No, yeah, we've seen engagements on stage. We've seen a ton of different things. Some of the fun stuff is being able to do fundraisers and be in a position to where when the community comes together. There's a local comic, Ron Hortman, that he had a daughter that was going through some things health-wise, and we put together a fundraiser for him, and comics volunteer their time and be able to give him money and sometimes with medical bills it's a drop in the bucket, but when you feel the community and you feel the support, it's cool. For me, I still love comedy. I still dig it. I still like the shows of it. Last year, Mark Norman had his bachelor party here, so when you watch so much comedy, comedy, some of the things I love is watching the crowd and watching the people's excitement when they light up. And, they knew Ari and Joe List and Mark and, all these great comics were going to be here. And then, they snuck Bert Kreischer on stage. And, we did 3 shows in a Sunday. It was something that, those guys sell out any venue they want by themselves. And it's all in one show at our little comedy club tucked away at the Plaza. So it was cool that they, he could have did it anywhere and that they chose to do it here. And, those guys are friends, but it was cool. A lot of that's a testament to our crowds too.
Yeah, for sure. That was an insane event too. And then I remember when Mark was here for the festival, this room was on fire. That was one of my favorite memories in this room too, when Mark Norman was here for Sunshine.
And listen, those guys, they get a certain level and the numbers just dictate that they have to go do theaters. But any of them will tell you, some of the best sets you'll ever see is when they're at clubs. I mean, there's a certain energy in the room that you get when people are close together. And so Mark, he's happy to do it. He's just selling so many tickets, man. It hurts us.
Tampa, baby.
I think we bring it up.
Okay.
I think Side Splitters is always in there. That's the one club I never miss every year for 15 years. We did the bachelor party there.
You got that right, Fatty.
I mean, I say it all the time. I'm like, I kill harder in Tampa than any city ever.
Well, Brian, thank you again. Any last things that the people should know about Side Splitters, about comedy in general? Any last words?
Look, come see for yourself. There's nothing like it. Live comedy, it's its own animal. And even if it's somebody you haven't heard of, to come experience it live, it's addicting. And come see for yourself.
I've personally had the pleasure of attending a lot of shows at Side Splitters over the last 3 years, and after visiting a decent amount of the country's best comedy clubs, I can honestly say that this one in Tampa is special. And with the growing comedy scene amongst the Tampa-St. Pete region, Side Splitters looks to be in great shape for the next 32 years to come. Guest spots from last week: Joe Rogan welcomed Peter Thiel, Dennis Quaid, Adam Ray, and Adam Sandler. Rogan also hosted a fight companion with Tony Hinchcliffe, Brendan Schaub, and Brian Simpson. Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast is still on a dry spell. Your Mom's House, Are You Garbage, and The Tim Dillon Show all did not have guests. Elizabeth Pipko appeared on Chrissy Chaos. Hannah Berner took her shoes off with Rick Glassman, and also joined Mike Birbiglia on Working It Out. Two Bears, One Cave was Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. Randall Park visited Tiger Belly. We Might Be Drunk featured Dave and John Charon. Tyler Fisher, Kim Congdon, and Jordan Peterson were all on Kill Tony. Eleanor Kerrigan stopped by The Honeydew, and Joe DeRosa, TJ Miller, and Kim Congdon all appeared on The Legion of Skanks.
This is why I ended up leaving the bar crawl, because Friday night we were hanging out, and Tony and I were having a cigarette, and he goes, "You should come do Kill Tony tomorrow at the Garden." And I go, "I can't, I have a birthday party happening." And he goes, "What the f*** are you talking about?"
Yeah, he's not wrong.
And I was like, yeah. I go, "Give me 5 minutes, I'll get right back to you." And I went inside, and Shane was inside. And I go, "Should I not leave my birthday pub crawl to do Kill Tony? I should just do the birthday thing." And Shane goes, "Are you retarded?"
Jesse Murph was the guest on This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn. Breaking Bread with Tom Papa featured Johnny Lowe. Neil Brennan had Josh Peck on the Blocks podcast. Taylor Tomlinson stopped by Whiskey Ginger. Tom Papa visited Stavi's World. William Montgomery was the guest on Rough Week. TJ Miller took a ride on the Harland Highway. Ian Lara was on the Adam Friedland Show podcast. Nathan McIntosh was on You Know What Dude. Rob Eiler sat on the couch with Soder. Jared Goldstein made it weird with Pete Holmes. Luke Toma and Sean Gardini took a trip to Stuff Island. Ali McCoskey and Keegan Tyndale stopped by B&E Ian with Jordan, and Daniel Van Kirk sat in the way back with Ryan Sickler. As far as new stand-up comedy specials that are either out right now or coming out soon, Greg Fitzsimmons is set to release his second hour-long stand-up special on his YouTube channel Tuesday, August 27th, titled You Know Me. Greg's special was filmed at the Comedy Mothership, joining the likes of Brian Simpson and David Lucas for comics to release specials filmed at Rogan's Club. The other big news in the special world this week, Toby McMullen dropped a hot new 15 minutes on his YouTube channel, and so far those numbers are through the roof from Are You Garbage fans supporting their former producer, which is an ongoing situation that we're working on a video about, but we want to make sure we actually have a story and we're not just reporting what they've already said on Patreon. So just in case anyone's wondering about the Toby Are You Garbage video, we're working on it. Also out right now on YouTube is Brendan Sagalow Thin Lips, Curtis Connor Python, Josh Denny Goliath, and out on Netflix is Matt Rife Lucid, which received 4.9 million views in its first 6 days on the platform, outpacing the likes of Tom Segura's Sledgehammer and Shane Gillis' Beautiful Dogs for specials released on Tuesdays. It's also just hilarious to look at where Dave Chappelle falls on this list. But if you want to hear more about Matt Rife's new crowdwork special, or just crowdwork in general, check out our video fully breaking down the crowdwork trend right after this. There's also a few specials in the works right now that will be coming out soon. On August 27th, Adam Sandler Love You will debut on Netflix, along with Phil Wang It In There Baby on September 3rd, and Tom Papa Home Free on October 29th. And in November, Seth Meyers has a new special that will debut on Max. Other than that, let me know in the comments if you've ever been to Side Splitters, because that would be pretty cool. But also outside of that, what your favorite comedy clubs are either around the country or around the earth, and maybe we can start doing some more deep dives on the many places that jokes are told. And as always, if you're interested in some free Joke World stickers, send us a message on Instagram or fill out the link in the description below. We'll make sure those get over in the mail. We also have some wristbands, some Joke World wristbands. They say Funny Business and they say Joke World on them. We'll make arrangements for these too. Just make sure you're subscribed and we'll make the mailman do the rest of the work. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back again soon with some more videos, some more daily shorts. And check out Clip World, our other channel. We're posting a little bit more over there, trying to build that up. So you guys go from here over there, but stay here. That is what we want. Okay.
At Joke World. That's it, at Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.